Welcome to Can We Talk? My name is Deidre Moss and I am the host. Today we continue our discussion on women and sexual violence as April is the month of sexual prevention, sexual assault, awareness and prevention month. And so today we have our um, guest, Levita Thurston. She is experienced in this area, and we are happy to have her on as we usually have her on Wednesdays. So I would like to thank her for joining us today, and I will pass the virtual mic to her to have her introduce herself.
Good evening, all our viewers. My name is Mistress Levita Thurston. I am a survivor of sexual abuse. I was raped at the age of 15. I got pregnant. I was in two separate abusive relationships. Out of those two abusive relationships, I had children by these abusive men. I went through a life of drug abuse, addiction, mental abuse. I was in and out of silence. I tried to commit suicide several times. And at that point in time, what I was going through, I felt hopeless. And I want to share something with our viewers. Being broken, being pregnant at the time, your child goes through the same process you are going through as a pregnant woman. And therefore, when you have that child and that child start to grow and start to portray certain attributes or certain attitudes, you wondering where it came from. But these are signs and things that you have been through where while you were pregnant and in the child's subconscious, he or she start to remember some things from the womb. In other words, a broken vessel brings broken vessel. You cannot get a good vessel out of a broken vessel if there was never no healing or deliverance for both mother and child or even father and child, because sometimes the mother dies in childbirth and the dad have to take care of the child. You got your healing. Like for instance, I got my healing, I got my deliverance, but I didn't at the time knew that my children also needed healing and deliverance. Back piggy banking on my daughter who was dead. She was molested when she used to go down by her grandmother on dad's side and to visit by one of the family members. And growing up, she was always bitter and angry, always crying. We didn't know what happened. We didn't know why she always was crying. And so we just did what we could have done as parents. We thought we were doing the right thing by chastising her. And so we didn't realize we were adding
Ms. Thurston,
to, yes,
go ahead. There was an issue with your audio. Continue. It's better now. Go ahead.
we didn't realize that chastising her as we knew was causing more pain. We were adding to the pain that was already deposited in her. During this rape, this molestation, I figured that some demons was deposited in her because she was not normal anymore. She was always on the defensive side. And years later, when we found out about the molestation, it was too late to do anything by law. And that same family member turned around and brought somebody to the house shot her and she died in my arms. But she did not just die, just that before she was killed, she she started to change her life. And the day when she was gonna die, she said, "Mommy, you only see I changed, Mommy, only because I love you, Mommy. I changed, Mommy, because I love you, Mommy. You only see I changed." And I said to her, "Yes, I see you change." And so we as parents, we put this burden on our children, on our family, when we have gone through the process of abuse and rape and all of that, and we haven't come to the realization that we bringing in these children that is being hurt also. And so therefore you have all this violence that is happening in the country. It's like a repeat situation. I get raped, my daughter get raped. And so, like a chain link, it keeps on happening because you haven't broken those spiritual attachments. And so
And
as
Miss
parents,
Thurston, if I may interject, your point is so important, as you would have mentioned. You had a situation that happened to you, and then that situation would have happened to your daughter. And I think you're talking about breaking the cycle. And that's why it's
yes,
so important for us to talk about these and bring awareness to these issues, because we want to break the cycle. We don't want this to
yes,
continue.
yes,
We want this to be discontinued. The cycle has to end somewhere. So we need to discuss this issue and not sweep it under the rug like we usually do.
yes, I agree. And like I was saying, we tend to judge. We tend to look at that child and we say, "Oh, why this child so bad? Why this girl so womanish?" But we do not look deeper and ask the question, what happened? Why? Why this child acting like this?
Mr.
You
Stin,
know, child,
Mr. Stin, if I can interject, that point that you made, oh my gosh, that's so powerful. Because I know sometimes when we have persons who run away and we see these flyers, I know when I'm on social media, I know persons are very quick to say, "Oh,
yes,
she's not a runaway. She
they
just
by
went away."
man.
But
Yeah, she
we
by
really don't
man.
understand, like you would have said, the underlying issues. There are
Yes, the
underlying
root of the
issues.
problem. The root of the problem. You have some, you have some mothers, you know, if their child can't bring money home, they have a problem with that. You've been with man and you ain't bring nothing home. So what are you saying to that child? What you expect that child to do? Okay. We have a lot of incidents where children run away from home because there's too much pain in there. They cannot cope in there. The environment hurts them to be there. You have incidents where a woman is married to a man, which is not the child father, and he molests the child, and the child say to mommy, "Mommy, your husband raped me." And she'll start beating the child. "Oh, you lies too much, you little wicked girl, you lying girl." But it happened for real. But she refused to believe her own child. And so the child has no way to escape. So the child is growing up in that painful home where a man is still there. So what does she do? Runs away. Or even if it's a male and her husband touches him in a way that makes him feel uncomfortable, and he go and say to his mother, "Mommy, your husband touched me, or so and so touched me." Then she will cast him out. "Oh, I'm going to put you in boys industrial school. I'm going to send you to your uncles. I'm going to send you to your aunts." You don't believe him. So it makes a child feel bad to know that my mother, who I look up to, who bring me in this world, refused to believe me. So who would believe me? Who can I tell? I don't want to tell no strangers for them to take me out the home because I still love my mommy. But I want my mommy to believe me. And so that child is crying out for that mother to recognize him, to believe him, or to believe her. But she refused to believe her child when she deposited this thing on that child. Because you bring this man in and did this to your child. Too much trust with these men, them, what ain't these children dad. You understand? How you could go and leave a 6 months baby with a man you just meet 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago? You think he's gonna love that child like his? We had we had lots of incidents where we heard the boyfriend kill the girlfriend child, but it was not his child. We had many incidents where the mother went out to the movie and come back, meet the baby dead in the crib. And he's saying he don't know nothing about it. It's sad. We refuse to believe our children, but we have to take responsibility as parents. These children, they came into this world with nothing in them. Whatever you put in them from 0 to about 15, that's what gonna start to come out. Sometime a child say a curse word, we laugh about it. And then we put the little pretty little clothes on the girls and these tight little tight little pants, and then we parade them for some sick person to be watching them. This is my grandsons. They some of them they get good little weight on them. And I always just tell their parents, put clothes on them. Don't never let their legs be showing to nobody. You understand? And they understand that. I explain to them, you don't help the sick mind to watch. Don't do that. Sometimes we do some things and we don't understand what we do. But we as parents, we have to take responsibility. We are responsible for what our children doing, because we were broken in the beginning, and then we go get pregnant with these kids, and then we bring them into this world broken also. And so the next available person, that's who they're gonna lash out on and put their hurt on. Sometimes you have a parent who's on drugs, the child in the home, no food to eat, not going to school. You think that doing good to that child? You're damaging that child. When a child hungry, he will go around the neighborhood to beg, or anybody would offer him something to eat, he will take that. You can't say, oh, don't eat from no stranger, but he's hungry. You ain't feeding him. And so it's a lot of factor in how our children are growing up and which way they will go, good or bad. And our main concern should be the well-being of their soul. Just like those young men who was killed last week, Thursday, I think. People saying all sorts of things about them, right? That's what they did in life, you know, but you still cannot judge them. The judging is for God. God is the rightful judge. If those men was doing the things I hear people say they're doing, them and God will have to talk about that when judgment day come. And also, we as believers, our concern should be, if somebody ministered to those boys, their soul should be our concern. Because if the alleges is true, then I mean, those boys were broken. They were failed. Someone failed them. Somebody failed them.
Wow, Ms.
And
Thurston, that is so powerful in and of itself, because I think sometimes we as a society, we kind of look at the end result and we say, oh, these are such horrible bad persons. But as you would have mentioned, somewhere along the line, maybe somewhere, someone would have failed them. And so
Yeah,
that is why it is so important for us to catch these issues ahead of time to prevent
yeah.
these events from happening.
This is why too, Ms. Moss, I I give myself, I offer myself, and it's not about no image or no position or nothing of that sort. It's about bringing honor and glory to God. It's about sharing my story and my experience with others to make awareness of what is happening in our country. If we really sit down and we think about it, right? Broken versus broken. What do you get? Broken in many pieces. You can't get a broken vessel and think you can get a whole load of that. No, there must be healing and deliverance in order for that person to be whole and to be healed.
And you were saying, Mr. Sin?
Whatever we do and wherever we go, it affects our children. It affects our family. It affects us. If we do good, then we get a good feeling. It puts us in a good mood. But if we do bad, it puts us in a bad mood. It makes us feel bad, makes our children feel bad, makes our family feel bad. For instance, when I was being abused and my children would hear me get beat up, and after I done get beat up, they know something else at that point in time was happening. Because after the beating, it will get quiet, and then they'll hear the bad head knocking, knocking, knocking. At that time, they didn't know what sex was all about. But eventually, their mind would start to wonder and they would start to try to figure out what was happening. Every time daddy beat mommy, then after a while you hear the bad head knocking and he doing what he have to do. Well, they wouldn't know it was him just having sex, but they would figure, well, mommy must he like this beating. Why she don't want to go? And so now when they start to grow up, they feel like that's the way of life, that's the way to go. Because if mommy stayed there for several years, I was there going through it, then I should not leave this abusive relationship now that I am in it. You understand? If my mommy going through it, I've been through it with her. So now I have to go through it on my own. And so this is how we affect our children. And then our family, they know what we're going through and they know it's wrong, even though we don't go and tell them, but word is get out. And so they think to themselves, they talk to themselves, why wouldn't she leave? Because they don't understand. They don't know why. Those why questions that you don't have an answer for, they're the why question they'll be asking. Why can't you leave? Why don't you leave? And then all you see is these children now, they giving off the results of the abuse, what they went through, along with the mother who was getting abused. And so this what is happening now. Our children being abused also when we are being abused. They going through the abuse with you. And so they can't beat the daddy because they still young children and babies. So when they grow up, all they saying in their mind is, when I grow up, you watch what I can do.
Mm,
Watch me.
mm,
And so they can't beat daddy. So they grow up and they put this pain on someone else's child.
mm,
They start to beat up on other people's children. They start to rape other people's children. Because remember, the rape spirit, the rape demon, the abuse demon, all them is spirits. And so they start to deposit it on other people's children. And so that's what we're fighting now today. The things, the situation that we've been through as parents, the things that we allowed to happen when our children was young babies, the things that we allow people to do to us because we did not stand up, because we did not leave at first instance. First instance is always the time to leave an abuser. You ain't just know he's an abuser when he hit you, you know. You
Mr.
ain't know.
Ms. Thurston, you made some very important points, but I just wanted to interject with your video talking about your organization. So as you finish, you can finish that last thought, and then we'll get into your video.
As a parent, we need to take responsibility for our actions. I am taking responsibility. I don't blame myself for everything, but I do take responsibility because I did not leave first instance. I saw the signs. Okay, the first time when I was pregnant and he slapped me, I should have left right there. Right there. I should have left. Before they even slap, the anger, the getting upset over small things, 3 little cups in the dish, 3 plate in the dish, because I just finished feeding the 2 boys and myself. And that was an issue to cause an argument and then cause a beating. Or every hit, I could have left. Every hit, I should have left because it was not getting better. In fact, it was getting worse and worse. Why did I stay? Why did I let him convince me that I couldn't do no better without him? Why did I let them convince me that I should have been a punching bag for them? Why did I allow them to hurt me in such a way? Why did I allow them to abuse my kids? Because if you could beat up on me, then take your drum and put the child in the front room to beat up on the drum whilst you done beat me and have sex with me. Not sex, rape. Why did I allow you to do that to me? The next one, why did I allow you to give me crab lice and still convince me that it was okay? That everything was gonna been okay? Why did I allow you to go and rob people and then when you come out, I be frightened of you? The law was there. But I was afraid also that he could have killed me. Nobody would have never known. Any one of them could have killed me. But that was a dumb mistake I made because they wasn't going to do nothing like that. They just loved to beat women. And that was their way of keeping me under subjection, keeping me under bondage. But now
Under
that I know
control.
better, yes,
Yeah.
keeping me under their control
Well, Ms.
until,
Thurston, allow me to share your video because I just want to highlight your organization as well as
okay,
your experience. So at this time, I'm going to share your video, and then we will definitely get back into that talk.
okay.
Mm-hmm. So as I pull it up, you can continue talking.
Okay. Yeah, we need to go back to the good old days where we need to send the children them to church. The children them hardly go into church now. Only the children that that come from a believer home. We just let them stay home. If they don't want to go to church, we just leave them. But when I was growing up, I didn't have no choice whether I wanted to go to church or whether I was going to church. I had to go to church. And it panned out well for me because I still had to come back to the word. I still had to come back to God. I still made it through Christ. Only God kept me that I did not let go. And many instances, I felt like that was it. I should have been dead, but God kept me that I didn't let go. And so we as parents, we got to stop compromising. Don't worry about how angry your child gets.
Agreed, absolutely. And so we will go into your video.
Vita Thurston. I'm the president of Growing God, immensely nonprofit organization. We offer grief counseling. We help wherever the need are. Hi, my name is Mistress Levita Thurston. I have a story. There is hope in my story. There is power in my story. There is healing in my story. There is deliverance in my story. And this is how my story goes. At one point in my life, I was in two separate abusive relationships. The first abusive relationship I was in had just been raped at the age of about 15. And this guy came up to me and he was so nice and he was, being so supportive. He had not came on to me as if he wanted a relationship. He just wanted to be a friend. And I was vulnerable, and so I buy into it. And I thought that he was just a nice person trying to help a broken young lady being pregnant with a child that was conceived through rape was very hard. I tried to get an abortion, but my mother told me no, I can't get an abortion. And being a child, I couldn't, fight against what my mother was saying to me. I had my child and we started to talk further about now a relationship. Getting into a relationship with him, I went and I lived with him and I get to saw a different side now. This when everything was gonna break down and all hell was gonna break loose. And when I was pregnant for him about 7 months, he hit me with a PVC pipe across my stomach. I ran across to his mother and his mother shut the doors. Being a young girl, you don't want to say to your parents that this person is abusing you because you're ashamed, you're hurt, you're blaming yourself. Because he used to say to me after beating me, look what you caused me to do. And so I start to question myself, I start to doubt, I start to believe that I caused him to hit me. He didn't mean to hit me. He didn't want to hit me. But I never said anything to get hit. I never did anything to get hit. All it was when he go out there and he gambled and he come home and I ask him, where you been all this time, or where's the money for the grocery? He would got upset and he would just start beating me. There was Sundays where I had to eat bread and drink Kool-Aid, big Sunday. Sometimes I would even lie to his sister and say that the baby was craving her food when I knew the truth was there was no food there for me to eat and I just wanted some of her food because me and the baby was hungry. And this abuse went on for so many years. Out of that abusive relationship, there were 3 kids. I had
two sons. And when I decided to leave him, I was pregnant with my daughter, but I didn't know I was pregnant. Thank God I didn't know I was pregnant, because if I knew, I probably would have stayed longer in the relationship. When I was pregnant with my third son for him, I had baby December the 20th, and 3 days later, coming home, I found some information out that he did something with one of the boy godmother. And when I questioned him about it, he started to beat me. I ran on the outside in my night clothes trying to get one of the family members to stop him from beating me, because I just had baby, and to be beaten like this just for asking you about something you did while I was in the hospital. But all through it, God kept me, that I didn't let go. When I decided to leave him, I had enough. I couldn't take it anymore. I was tired. My body was already broken in so many pieces. I felt like there was no hope, because I was in this place where I called it a tunnel. It was a dark place, and only God could have helped me to get out of this tunnel. Being in an abusive relationship, if you don't get out, the first minute somebody hits you, you will start to make excuses after excuses, and when you look, either you all bruise up or you end up dead. Anyway, years later, I left that abusive relationship. 1 year later, I jumped into another abusive relationship. Out of those two, I don't know which one was worse. But the second abuser, one day he raped somebody, and the police was looking for him, and he said to me that the lady got upset. They had sex, and he told her he couldn't leave his present girlfriend because she was pregnant for him, and she got upset and she went to the police and said he raped her. Fool me, believed it then. And then it was an incident where I went to use the bathroom, and when I wiped with the tissue, there was this little bug-looking type thing on the tissue crawling. And I got so scared and I started to cry, and I went to him and I said to him, why did you do this to me? Why you give me crab lice? I haven't been with anybody for years. Why would you do this? And he tried to make me feel like I've been with someone else. But I know within myself it was not true. And so I was carrying on with him. And then he admitted he had this fling with one of his schoolmates, and she gave him this crab lice and he gave it to me. But he was sorry. At that point, I had already made up in my mind that God, you have to take him from me. You have to do something with him. I prayed to God that God will do something to make him go away. Because he was in out of prison. And when he come out, if he understand that I was talking to somebody, friend, he'll go and he'll pull gun on them and he'll tell them they must go. Being in that relationship even broke me down even more. I was broken in so many pieces that I did not believe that there was hope. I tried to take my own life, but God would not allow it. God kept me that I didn't let go. And I believe now that God kept me then through it all for such a time as this.
And so, Ms. Thurston, we'll end that video on that note. And I want to thank you for being so transparent. I think you are very open and honest with your experience and what you have gone through. And I heard you say before, you are open and honest with your experiences because you want to help other persons who may not be as able to freely discuss what they may have been through. But with you sharing, maybe that will kind of open the doors for other persons.
Yeah, yes. And that's why I always also gives my numbers out. My number is 323-6310 or 428-6803. My email is levitaturson@hotmail.com. We have to continue to be our brothers and sisters keeper. We are in this fight together. If you cry, I should cry also. I should feel it. If you happy and rejoicing, I should be happy and rejoicing for you. Just the fact that you have something to be happy about. And this what it's all about. Being our brothers and sisters keeper and taking one day at a time. Because abuse has no face. You do not know who is hurting and when they are hurting. The abuser has no face. You don't know who he is or who she is, but you know that somebody out there needs your help. And so I offer myself to be an encourager, to be my brothers and sisters keeper, to be there as a listening ear, to be there to help others, to encourage others, because it is much needed. When people hear my story, they identify with their story, and then it helps them to come out and share their story. Sometimes they'll call me and they'll say, Mr. Thurston, can I talk with you? I go and I see them and I talk with them and I hear their story. And so it's about connecting with each other's story, because each of our story has power in it. Each of our story has deliverance in it. Each of our story has healing in it. Each of our story can help the next person to live and not die.
Mrs. Thurston, I want to thank you today for sharing. And I also want to thank you for talking about breaking the cycle. And you would have spoken a
Yeah.
lot about that today in terms of not carrying that down to your kids. And even though you may have experienced that type of trauma, you don't want that trauma to continue down the line. At some point, you want to break the cycle. And I want to thank you for talking about that. And as I would have mentioned when we began, April is sexual assault awareness and prevention month, and within that area, we do have the issue of sexual violence and sexual
Yes.
abuse that is not just perpetrated against women, because sometimes we kind of shine the spotlight on women, but as you would have mentioned before, there are men who are also impacted by this issue. And I don't know if maybe, persons may be afraid to come forward, because you would have mentioned before, sometimes they may not feel as though it may be the right thing to come forward. They may be fearful, or they may feel as though they may be looked at a
Especially,
certain way.
yes, especially if it's a male that has been abused, let's say sexually. What happened is he's very ashamed because he don't want nobody to think, oh, maybe I'm gay because somebody penetrated that part of me. Or what will they think? What would my friend think about me? Or what my boys will think about me if they found out that I was penetrated anally? Or if it's a male that has a wife, if I share this with my wife, she will disrespect me. She will tell me, excuse my language, care my sissy self. You understand? And so he has this self-image to deal with. He has his emotions to deal with. See, we don't know how hurting people is damaged them. Sometimes they carry this burden for life straight into death. Sometimes they don't never tell nobody about it. That's a kept secret. And so we have to get out of this placing burden on others. You know, we need to assure people that it's okay what you're going through. I've been through some stuff myself. You understand? And so when people hear you assuring that I have been through some stuff, then it lightens the burden. Okay, I can talk to Miss Moss. She seems like she understands. She been through some things. And we have to get out of that placing shame on people, placing this burden on people, especially our male. They don't talk about what they go through. See, women is talk. Women, if you talk enough and encourage them enough, they will come out and they will talk. But the male, it's hard to get them to come out and talk about this shame.
Well, Miss Thurston, I want to thank you for talking. Again, I want to thank you for being open and sharing your story. And as we come to the end of this session, we want to continue it for another session. But as we come to the end of this particular session, do you have any further commentary that you would like to add?
I just want to say, in everything that we do, put God in the center of our lives. Make God that priority. God will never leave nor forsake us. Even when we get into bad situations that we have to create and place ourselves in, God still is there fighting for us and trying to get us, not trying, getting us out of that situation. Let's continue to pray. This is a season of revealing. God is revealing himself to mankind. And so we have to pray, go to church, seek ye the kingdom first.
Thank you for your commentary, Ms. Thurston. And so with that, we will end this session. We will further discuss in our next session, as we usually do on Wednesdays. But Ms. Thurston, again, I would like to thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
I would like to
You're welcome.
I would like to thank our viewers. You can add your comments to this video, and you can also share your thoughts in the comment section. You can like our page for future notifications and like us on our other social media platforms. Thank you and good day.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Bye.
Bye.